Welcome back, Fox 51 Good Day is your local election headquarters. Well, last night was the very first time former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris took the stage to debate each other ahead of the November election. With that all being said, Smith County Republican Chair David Stein joining us now live in studio to give his reaction this morning to what he saw last night. David, thanks for coming in this morning.
You bet. Good morning. Thanks for having me this early.
Definitely. We appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
So what was your overall reaction to last night and some of your overall takeaways?
I mean, overall takeaways, as I think President Trump did what he needed to do in describing why he would be a good president again. That really is the issue that we're having. It's not about all of these other peripheral issues. Who is best qualified to lead this country for the next 4 years and get us back on track where we need to be?
Some Republican commentators on Twitter, or now known as X, were kind of disappointed with Trump's performance. I guess they were expecting it, like you were talking about, the same type of thing with the Biden debate, with the Trump and Biden debate. They were a little bit disappointed with how he performed. Did you feel that was the case, or did you think he performed just fine?
I think there were expectations that were just not reasonable. She's a better candidate than Biden was. She's at least coherent and could answer questions, and she fought hard. She tried to annoy the heck out of him, and I respect the way that he avoided going into that. So I thought he did what he needed to do. People kept saying, we don't want to see him get too irritated. We don't want to see him act boorish, as they saw in some of the last debates 4 years ago. And so he stayed away from doing that.
And Kamala Harris, how do you think she overall, I know you said she did a better job than Joe Biden. What was your overall takeaway from her performance last night going against Trump?
So I still don't know who she is. That's really what the case she has to make to the American people. Is she for fracking? Is she not for fracking? Does she want abortions available all the way through to? So she's flip-flopped on a lot of these different issues. The thing with President Trump, like him or not, you know exactly who he is. He is the same person wherever part of the country that he goes to. He is direct, he is blunt, he goes straight to the point. And when you look at her, you know, I heard people say, well, he was afraid of her. This guy just almost took a bullet to the head. He is not afraid of Kamala Harris.
So you certainly weren't satisfied with her answers on multiple issues last night?
She didn't. First off, I wasn't satisfied with the fact that they gave her a little bit more reign. She brings up Charlottesville. She brings up something from 1980. She makes a comment that the economy that they inherited was trash, and it just was not true. It's just simply not factual, and they didn't come back and press her on those issues.
And speaking of the economy, so last night Kamala Harris said, quote, when they were talking about I guess Donald Trump and his policies when it comes to the economy if he would get reelected. She said, quote, Donald Trump has no plan for you, talking directly to the voters there with that statement. What do you make of that quote?
So, in speaking of talking to the voters, first off, if you notice with the debate, she was looking at him a lot of the time. And I thought that was a stark contrast. She also looked annoyed. She had some strange facial expressions, which I saw some comments on. He looked directly into the camera, and he talked to the American people. He has a plan. He has laid it out. She's the one that she has said multiple times last night, I have a plan, I have a plan. Great. What is it? We heard Joe Biden say the same thing about COVID 4 years ago. Trump has no plan, I have a plan. What happened? He had absolutely no plan.
After the debate, who do you think has the most momentum right now? Do you think it's still all Trump, or does Kamala still, because a lot of people, from what I'm seeing, are saying Kamala has a little bit more momentum right now than Donald Trump. After last night, what is your take on that?
I don't think the debate changed anybody's mind. I think that's the first thing. From a momentum standpoint, I think it goes back to timing. So she's got the momentum from, she's not Biden. She gets a bump from the fact that she's not Biden, and now she's a different candidate. So people are excited about that on the Democratic side. The other is you get a natural bump from the conventions. This is the first debate. Let's see what happens in some of the other debates. There's still almost 2 months to go in the election cycle. She hasn't defined who she is. And if Democrats vote for somebody who won't articulate what it is they want. How many days did she go? Almost 40 days after announcing, before having a major press conference. You can't do that. You have to let the people know who you are. As a Republican Party chair of one of 254 counties in Texas, in one of over 3,000 counties in the United States, I did more interviews during that 45-day period than Kamala Harris did. That's not fair to the American people.
Okay. David, thanks so much for joining us. And
My pleasure.
It's going to be interesting to see if there's going to be a second debate in the coming weeks and months. We'll see.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I think a lot of Americans do.
Yeah, on an even playing field.